a quick, just, welcome. So excited to see you guys. Do some engagement norms and just check in. Then we're going to roll into our NPSI model, the roadmap to sustainable post-secondary strategy. Then we're going to hear from our team in Texas, East Central, about their approach to college and career strategy. We'll have some time set aside to break out into groups and reflect on what East Central presents to us and kind of see how what we're learning today can apply to your districts. And then we'll wrap up in next steps. I have no doubt this 90 minutes is going to fly by, and I hope you guys got a ton of great information that you can apply to your practice. So to kick us off, we're just going to start with engagement norms. I know we've all been in Zoom forever, but it's always a nice reminder. So if you can, change your display name to include your district's name or the initials of your district at the beginning of your name in Zoom. So for example, mine would be NPSI, then Allison Regalato. Strive to be fully present. I know there are a lot of people in this room with a lot of things going on. Make sure to, take care of yourself and your students, but do what you can to stay present and get as much as you can from today's session. Make good use of the chat box. We will be periodically pausing for questions, but please throw things in the chat. We'll be monitoring and responding and trying to get you answers to any questions that pop up. And then finally, use the virtual meeting space etiquette. Like I said, we've been in Zoom for a while, but just a friendly reminder, if you're not speaking, please be on mute. Strive to be on camera as much as you're comfortable. Use chat function for questions and comments, and then you can raise your hand or come off mute, to share ideas or questions as well. And if you're having any technical difficulties, feel free to chat either myself, Darcy, or Kelly, and maybe we'll try to help you through it. And then, so just some stage setting of national networks. So we do have, like I mentioned, some guests in the room who are not currently part of national network, but are considering potentially joining us next year. So we wanted to give them a feel for what these full network meetings are. And so as you know, we have our monthly strategy calls. We had our awesome national convening in December, and today is one of our full network meetings. So everyone in the national network is invited to participate and learn from one another. I'm going to hand it off to Kelly.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Great to see everyone together virtually. We want to, we're excited to have our East Central team talking about the work that they're doing. And as you listen to their presentation here in a couple of minutes, I just want to highlight that, or just drop that seed that the pieces they are doing really emphasizes strategy. So they're going to talk about a lot of different pieces, but as we look at it, what we get really excited about with the East Central team is the strategic pieces they're putting together for the sustainability over the long term. And so before we get into hearing kind of like what I always say is the NPSI model in practice happening there in San Antonio, I want to share with you, I just want to ground us in the NPSI model again. What does it mean when we talk about the NPSI model and the fundamentals and the building blocks that get there? Again, some of this you've seen before, some of this might be new to you, depending on where you are in the network. But again, we'll give the background, kind of plant those seeds to help you then connect this to what East Central is going to be sharing. And so here we have our wonderful NPSI model for post-secondary success. On the left, you see our wheel, where we always have student post-secondary success at the center. We are a very mission-driven group from NPSI. We care about students and we want to see all students succeed. But we come at that by working with you all, the leaders in the district, around systems and strategies. And so for us, the three core components of that strategy is having leadership, data strategy, and school counselor engagement seamlessly working together in your district. When we talk about leadership, we mean having a clear vision of what you want for your student post-secondary outcomes. We want that tied to a data strategy. So it's not just enough to have that vision and desire for student success, but we want it to be measured and for you to be really intentional on how you use that data to build strategies to identify the students who need more, the students who could get, who could be pushed to the next level, and get everybody to their success path, whatever that is. And then the third is school counselor engagement, which means being really intentional in how you are engaging your school counselors in the post-secondary work and empowering them to lead, both at the district level and individually in their schools. And so the work we do through the national network is in this outer circle. It's creating that shared accountability, really building those relationships among the leaders within your district, but also across your district today, building partnerships and really emphasizing communication. All right, Allison. So I want to just ground you in two things here. Our beliefs that go into the work we do with you all that fuels us getting through into our NPSI model, and then the outcomes that we see if we really embrace this fully. So the left side, our motto is belief brings change, our tagline, whatever you want to call it. You hear us say believe, we give you believe items, swag, but for us, it really is. You need to believe that all students can be successful and want them to follow that path. So our 4 core beliefs are students should be prepared for multiple pathways to success. We know students change their mind. We want them to have all the opportunity they could possibly have when they leave high school. And so that means preparing them for many pathways along the way. The districts are the unit of change. We work with you all because we believe you are that lever, that you at the district, you working together as a team are the ones who can make the success possible for students, but that you need your internal capacity to be successful. And that systemic change is possible and needed for long-term impact. So by you all building your teams and really focusing on your strategy intentionally together is how we get to that student success pathway. And so on the right-hand side then, what we expect to come and we have seen, and you'll hear East Central talk about some of this, when you really engage in the NPSI model, you end up with a clear strategy for how you're going to increase post-secondary success for your students. You'll experience high level of collaboration between the leaders in your district focused on getting students on that success pathway. Your district systems will be immune to leadership changes and budget cuts. And this is a big one for us. This is when Joyce and Allison and I worked in Chicago Public Schools together. We built systems over 20 years ago that still exist today. There have been like 8 different superintendents. There's been all sorts of crazy stuff. There's been COVID, but those systems are still there. Because when you work on this intentionally and you create that strategy and you build that capacity, they sustain. And that's how you get to the sustainable increases in student metrics. All right, Allison. So then for those of you who have worked with us over several years, you've taken our NPSI assessment. And we've talked about the 23 elements that get to help you build this strategy. I wanted to just touch on a few of them. And then Joyce, I'll give you a warning. I'll hand it over to you if you want to touch on a few of them also. But I wanted to just touch on a few of them that I think you will hear in East Central's talking as I talk today. So these aren't like what do we got here? 8. These aren't like the 8 most important. These are just 8 that I really want to emphasize for today's presentation. So the first is that there's a clear vision. Your leadership team should have that clear vision for student post-secondary success. You should have a post-secondary leadership team, not just one person or just a couple of disparate people, but a team working on this and clear ownership of those trends. Somebody needs to own the overall strategy. Somebody needs to be owning the data and owning the engagement of counselors. And then that's coupled with no blame data. So we want you to look at data. We want you to engage with data, but we want you to use that in a no blame way, right? That we accept where we are, and we make a plan for where we want to be. We celebrate our successes, but when the data isn't where we expected, we make the plan to get it better. We don't sit there and wallow or point fingers and try to push that blame off. And then that comes with having measurable key performance indicators. So looking at with your vision, what are those key levers? What are those key data points that we're going to look at? And then it rolls into our third pillar of when we have that data, it needs to be accessible to everyone, especially counselors. They need to see that data, be able to use that data in a user-friendly way. But that only matters if we create this culture that supports counselors using data and give them the ability and the time to engage with that data by limiting their non-counseling duties. So I think I feel like this picture is hopefully what you will hear from East Central, and if not, we can talk. I know they're doing all of it, so we can ask them to highlight some other examples. But I just want to pause and see, Joyce, is there anything you wanted to highlight off here also? I know I'm putting you on the spot without prep.
Just wanted to highlight that we see within districts that all of these components exist. Districts have lots of data. They have everybody has counselors. They are focused on college and career readiness. But through the NPSI model, we try to establish systems to use all these things to break down the silos and to make sure the outer circle of the NPSI model, that of collaboration, communication, shared accountability, all emerge together. And that takes place through our monthly conversations. And it may seem simplistic to say we're going to meet, but we don't at the NPSI, through the NPSI perspective, we don't meet to meet. We really meet around data and to plan strategies and to get a deeper understanding about what all the leaders at the district level are doing and how that impacts the practice level. What I can say is about East Central is that many times we see districts have counselors operate at the periphery of post-secondary planning and advising. And so because the engagement model of NPSI says counselors should be squarely positioned as leaders, when we put that out there, I was just really proud of East Central because they grabbed hold of that right away to figure out strategies to really immerse their counselors into the work of post-secondary advising. And I'll stop there.
Great. All right, so let's, without further ado, we'll get you East Central in front of you, although we have been working with them for, I think since NPSI has been started. Like we started working with them through a partnership in San Antonio, and Joyce had worked with them. And so this has been, again, as you hear their progress, there's always more work to be done, but also want to emphasize this is, I think, 4 years in the making, Amanda. You guys can share more. But I wanted to just give a quick background on when we started working with our San Antonio districts. It was right at the time that Texas passed House Bill 3, which is referred to as HB3 for short. And this context has impacted all of the work that NPSI has done in Texas. And I'm sure you'll hear it come through in East Central's presentation. So just to address some of maybe like the jargon pieces, House Bill 3 in Texas was this landmark education finance bill, was really focused on getting more funds into districts and into schools, but through an accountability and incentive structure, which is referred to quickly as CCMR. So CCMR is college, career, and military ready, which is, I'm sure, no different than all of the pieces that you all talk about, but you may not call it CCMR. So there's, you'll see here, I'm not going to go through all of this, and East Central will touch on it, but there are criteria for the accountability for the grading system the state does. And then there's additional criteria that districts can use if they meet them to get additional funds, which is called the outcomes bonus. And so this is very pervasive. This isn't just a bill that passed and districts pick up on it, but I think any district you talk to in Texas is all about the CCMR and this accountability. So now, without further ado, I will hand it over to Amanda and Lauren, who are the, I want to say the data and CCMR leadership duo. They work very similarly to Joyce and I did in Chicago. So we're excited to hear you guys talk.
Lauren.
Yes, I am sharing my screen now.
Awesome.
Can everyone see that?
Yep, you're good.
All right.
We are really excited to be here today to talk to you about, as Kelly mentioned, the 4 years of work that we've been doing here in East Central around our college, career, and military readiness goals as a district. And so I'm Amanda Holman. I'm the Director of College, Career, and Military Readiness for East Central, and I'll let Lauren introduce herself.
I am Lauren Long. I'm the coordinator of CCMR here in ECISD.
And our community is really unique in that we cover urban, suburban, and rural communities, and we are growing exponentially daily. It's pretty insane. So right now our district has 11 campuses with the breakdown there. And then we are in the middle of building 3 campuses, 2 elementaries and a new middle school, and the potential of going out for an additional bond for more schools this November. So we have some really exponential growth happening. We're currently sitting around 11,200 students, and we service a little over 70% low socioeconomic status. And that number is increasing as we have more families moving into our district. And in 2023, 51% of our students that graduated in the class of 23 met a CCMR indicator. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that and where we've been with that, because it may seem low, but it's a huge win for us. So our department specifically services multiple different programs within the district. We service gifted and talented, career and tech ed, all of our advanced academics, so dual credit, dual enrollment, on-ramps, our AP. We also oversee schools of choice and innovation. So we have a really broad range of things that we are focusing on here, aside from just ensuring that our kids are prepared for their post-secondary life. And so one of the things that we're going to talk a little bit about today is the fact that this year we are celebrating that our entire district has a board goal, or a goal established by our board, of having 64% of our graduates meet one or more of the 9 indicators that we have here in Texas for college, career, and military readiness. And so those 9 indicators can be either career readiness through an industry-based certification, or workforce readiness with an IEP. It could be college readiness through dual credit, getting a 3 or higher on an AP exam, ACT, SAT scores, or the TSI, the Texas Success Initiative, which is the Texas version of the AccuPlacer assessment. Or they can enlist in the military. So there's several different ways that our students can do that. And so our goal that I mentioned, the 60, that all the way from pre-K, really, we have pre-K 3 in our district, to 12, we are ensuring that our students and our staff and our community knows that our students are on a trajectory to get to that 64% and be college ready when they exit. The only way that we were able to do that was to quantify it at all of those levels. And so we know that it's not just that the kids are, or the students are engaging in career exploration days at elementary schools, or you're having guest speakers come in, or that everybody's wearing college shirts on Thursdays, which is where we really began, right? When we would say everybody is going to have a college, career, and military readiness goal, the first thing people think of is, well, we're going to set a goal that every Thursday, 90% of our kids will wear a college t-shirt. That's not moving the needle in any way, shape, or form. And so when you start to look at data all over the country, and especially here in East Central, we see that our students in 3rd grade are performing at 17% proficiency in math and 21% proficiency in ELAR, in ELAR on their STAR or their state readiness assessments. And that number doesn't change ever. It stays stagnant from when they enter 3rd grade and they first assess all the way until they leave us as 12th graders taking ACT, SAT, and TSI assessments. And so when we went back and we sat down and we looked at all of this data, we said, if we're going to put a student on a trajectory to where they will be college ready when they exit our buildings as a senior, what does that look like when they leave 5th grade? What does that look like when they leave 8th grade? And then what does it look like when they leave us at the high school? And so we are utilizing the NWEA MAP assessment for math and ELAR at 5th grade and 8th grade. And each campus has specifically set a goal around the percentage of their students that will meet readiness, projected readiness. So if you're not familiar with NWEA, it will give you readiness projections for SAT, ACT, and then our state assessment, the STAR assessment. And we are able to go back and look at these and see where our students are as far as being projected to score 22 or higher on the ACT. We particularly chose the ACT because we offer ACT school day to all of our juniors every year. So we wanted to make sure that it was something that could follow the students through all the way. So we start in 5th grade looking at their ACT projection, and we evaluate it again in 8th grade and again as seniors. That's going to provide us with something that's on track all the way, and it's the same language that we're using with the students all the way through their educational journey. So you'll see that each of our campuses has created that goal around what percentage of their students are going to be ready to score a 22 or higher on the ACT by the time they get to be a junior. We can go to the next one, Lauren. So this graphic here kind of shows you the progress that we have made. And while it's not where we want it to be yet, it is a lot of progress, and we're very excited about that. So if you look over on the far left-hand side, we had one of the highest college going rates in all of Bexar County, which is the San Antonio, greater San Antonio area. We had 61% of our students go into college this past school year. So when we got our National Student Clearinghouse data, 61% of our students had gone. But if you look at that CCMR indicator met, only 51% of those kids were ready to go to college or the career that they indicated or military. And if you look below that CCMR met indicator, you'll see that we were at 38% in 2022, and we made a jump to 51% in 2023. And so we've really been focusing, and that's the point where those 9 indicators that we talked about come into play. Our work with NPSI over the last several years has really focused a lot also on TASFA and FAFSA completion. The TASFA is our state financial aid application. And we have gone from around 40% of our students completing to 81% with our seniors from last year. And then our dual enrollment, we're going to talk a little bit about some of our strategies to increase students taking advanced academics courses. You can see that in 22-23, we had 178 students enrolled in dual enrollment or dual credit. And this year we've almost doubled. We're at 309. So we're seeing a lot of growth. We're by no means where we want to be, but we are seeing some significant growth with the strategies that we've put into place. So I mentioned the strategies here. These are the strategies that our leadership team has put into really, this is what our work is this year. So our first strategy is that all of our students who are in a CTE course will have the opportunity to assess on an industry-based certification in their level 3 career and tech ed course. So our students, we want them to be a completer, take all 4 courses in their coherent sequence. And we want to make sure that they're prepared. So we'll talk about how we focus on getting those students prepared here in a second. Our second strategy is aligned to TSI testing or the Accuplacer testing. If we can get students to test and assess in lower grade levels, like 9th, 10th grade, we can get them to understand their capability when it comes to dual credit and dual enrollment. So we've really tried to start testing our students at lower grade levels and in larger numbers to get them qualified. And then utilizing our data to collect student aspirations for planning. We look at post-secondary support, we look at auto placement for advanced coursework. And that's really just to ensure that our students are understanding that they do have the capacity to challenge these higher level of rigor courses and be successful before they ever get into college. They've experienced something that's highly rigorous. The next slide is going to start talking about some of our projects. And so our projects are really kind of aligned to our strategies. But these are some of the really big rocks that we have set on our sites this year to get completed. So project one, when I talked about strategy one with our increasing of industry-based certifications, this is one way that students can demonstrate career readiness here in Texas. And so we have started developing, we did develop workbooks for all of our career and technical education staff that links their level 3 CTE course to the certificate, their industry-based certificate that's approved by the Texas Education Agency for their course. And so it goes in, basically what this does is it forces our teachers to work collaboratively in a professional learning community to look at pass rates of previous years, test rates, not just the number of kids that take the test and pass, but the number of kids that actually sit out of, if you have 100 kids and only 80 of them take it, why are we only testing 80% of our kids? So look at that data. Then it also asks them to look at where the standards alignment is between each of the levels of coursework so that they can start to pinpoint where students are struggling and what needs to be focused on a little more and how we can adjust our curriculum documents to ensure that we go from, you know, a 60% pass rate to an 80, 85, 90% pass rate and get more of those students certified. This year we have, Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, or Heidi or Jane, if you're on here, I think we've got around 800 students that we'll be assessing for an industry-based certificate.
Almost.
And so we're hoping that a large percentage of those students will earn that IBC at the end of this year. Project 2 is aligned to both strategies 2 and 3. And this is our aspiration survey. And this is something that actually came directly from our work with NPSI. We were being asked quite frequently in the beginning of our work by Dr. Brown, well, how do you know what your kids want to do? How do you know what your kids want to do? And we're just like, I don't know. And so we started developing an aspiration survey. And so this is the second year that it has gone out, and we ask 3 very simple questions. We ask this in fifth grade, 8th grade, 11th, and 12th grade. And it's very simple 3 questions. We ask them the language is age appropriate, but we ask them, what school do you go to? To finish the sentence or the statement, after I graduate from high school, I will. And they can either begin working, go to college, or join the military. And then based off of their choice on that question, it'll ask them a few questions after that of, what college do you want to go to? Who told you about this college? Or what career do you want to go into and who told you about the career? And what branch of service do you want to go into and who told you about that branch of service? We we found some really interesting data coming out of this. Last year, we surveyed all of our 5th grade students leaving to go into 6th grade. And we started to see this strange anomaly of a campus that had an insane amount of students indicating that they wanted to go to LSU. And so our team, we were racking our brains together, like, where did they all come up with this? And it dawned on us that they had last year attained a new assistant principal who is an LSU graduate and bleeds every single day LSU, anything and everything, and shouts it from the rooftops. And so we were like, that is a huge thing about the impact that adults can make on a student by just saying, hey, this is my school and I'm so proud of it and I love it. And so we actually got to go over and have a conversation with her and thank her for making an impact on kids. But that's something that we've highlighted all year this year, is really the impact that just sharing your experience with kids makes on the students that are in the seats. This is completed through our counseling departments at the elementary school level, and then through our academic deans at the middle and the high school level to ensure that it gets pushed out, the students complete it. We also do a lot of work at the high school level of when we have events, if we're able to communicate and have conversations with the families, and we realize through the tracker that Lauren's going to share here in a second, that the student hasn't completed the FAFSA or the aspiration survey, we ask them to do it right then and there on a QR code so that we can have a conversation with them about their plans. But this data for this in all grade levels helps us drive decisions about placement of students into different courses. It helps us drive decisions on what students we're going to invite to certain events for college or career readiness or military readiness, college visits, those types of things. So it's really a very, very useful tool. And now we're starting to find some things where we say, oh, did you check the aspiration survey? Did they fill that out? What do they want to do? I just heard Lauren yesterday on a phone conversation with a counselor about that. So it's really neat to start seeing that come to fruition. Do we want to go to the next slide, Lauren? So this is project 3. And I'm going to turn it over to Lauren because this is her baby. But it is, again, aligned with strategies 2 and 3. And take it away, Lauren.
Yeah, so our third project really is a prescription for each student based on the needs that they have in regards to obtaining post-secondary readiness. And I'm going to go into our trackers. I'm going to go into our most recent, our 2024. Now, this is a demo tracker, so you won't see student information, but it is still connected and it is still live because I left local ID numbers. So this is a tool that we have been using for the past 4 years, and you'll see each of our years up here. We have them built out for every grade level, all the way to cohort of 27, our current freshmen, so we can track the students. And like Amanda was saying, all of the decisions and all of the steps and strategies that we've made have all been data-based, and this is the tool that we've been using to kind of have that movement. So first you'll see just basic student information. We have their first name, last name. We have their counselor assigned because it kind of helps the counselors understand their percent of students that are post-secondary ready or their percent of students that have TSI, SCT, or ACT tested. We have their general demographic data, so we know what subpops they fall in. And then we also have their GPA quartile. We have a working sheet kind of that our Go Center, which is like our Student Success Center, takes notes on. So if we have any updates for the student, we indicate if they're at our Learning Academy, which is kind of a portion of our high school that focuses on our most at need students. And then here's the aspiration survey that Amanda was speaking of. And what I'd like to point out is everything on here is fed through formulas. So this took me 4 years to learn and 4 years to build. It is directly linked to our counselor's document. So a new student enrolls today, they add the ID number and everything populates based off of the formulas that we have entered. So you'll see here a couple of our students are interested in going to Palo Alto College. We have a student here that would like to work in a daycare after they graduate college, but they're not sure where. We've got a University of Texas. And so you'll just kind of see how the aspiration surveys fall into our tracker. A couple of other components. This is our FAFSA information. So the counselors have gone in this year to senior classes and supported students with FSA IDs. The counselors in the Go Center have been supporting students with completing the FAFSA. And I don't know if y'all are having the issues that we're having, but tracking completion has been a little bit of a challenge this year. So we're doing that manually. Anytime someone sees a verification of a student, they'll enter in their initials. And we're kind of just tracking it like that for now until our sweet system updates. If a student is interested in the military, We try to see what ASVAB score they've obtained or what branch they're interested in. And then next to that, we've got their college interests. So Bear County has a citywide grant called Alamo Promise. So any school district within Bear County qualifies their seniors for free tuition at one of the Alamo colleges. There are 5 of them for 3 years, a certification or an associate's degree, whichever comes first. And so you'll see here, this is how we know if our students have applied and which campus they've applied to. We are at, I think 95% of our seniors have already completed one of these applications. For the most part, we're just missing our most at-risk students. And, this data, a prime example is we will contact our Go Center and say, you're missing a lot of students. They're at the Learning Academy. What's the plan we're putting in place for them? And then we're going to get into the lovely world of testing, which is all here. This is the AccuPlacer, like Dr. Holman was speaking of, the TSI, for those of you that live in Texas, a student's score. This is SAT and ACT, and this column tells us if a student is compliant in any or all of those areas, math or ELAR. Now, if a student isn't, this is where our strategy 3 comes to play. I can tell you right here, this student is compliant in reading and writing, but not in math. We do not see compliance in math. They have not attempted the TSI. However, this student is enrolled in Texas College Bridge, and they're working towards compliance there. So this is something that our Go Center, and we work very closely with our academic deans through content areas to make sure that that student has the remediation that they need through Texas College Bridge. And therefore, once they complete that, we will earn compliance on our side, and the student will be able to avoid the remedial courses when they enter college next year. And that's kind of this whole section kind of tells us where the student is compliant and what area they need to focus on. And this is the conversations we have almost weekly with each campus, telling them, okay, you've got 10 kids that completed TCB this week. What's the plan for the other 15 that are making great progress or that have kind of fallen off the map? We see that they're not logging in as often. And then I'll jump into our accountability section. So those 9 indicators that Kelly spoke of and Amanda spoke of, those are here indicated in bright red. So these are our career ready. And I do want to point out, and I'll kind of show you what this looked like when we started, but it's evolved with our conversations with NPSI over the years. And one area that Dr. Brown got me in a meeting one day, and she said, well, how many of your students are career ready and how many of them are college ready? And we were like, oh, we don't know. We have to measure that now. And so you'll see the career ready are indicated here in blue, and the college ready are indicated here in purple. And we kind of break down so we have an idea how many students are geared towards each path after graduation. It is very detailed. We know if a student is IBC testing this year or if they've already earned an industry-based certification in years prior. We can tell if a student is AP testing this year, they tested last year and weren't successful, or they tested last year and they were successful. We can tell you if a student is compliant in ELAR, but not math, and you'll see that's the area that our campus is trying to focus on with them, or if they're compliant in both areas. And so one thing I do want to point out, we are also measuring accountability, but in addition, outcomes bonus. So outcomes bonus is how we obtain additional funding. So if a student earns an industry-based certification and is compliant with TSI, we would earn outcomes bonus for that student. And so this tool helps drive all decisions that we make as a department. But it took us a while, and I'll show you what it looked like in year 1. It all started when I was our CCMAR advisor on our high school campus, and there was a spreadsheet for everything. There was a spreadsheet of students that were in dual credit. There was a spreadsheet of students that SAT tested in March, in April, in May, over the summer. There was just a spreadsheet for everything, and I thought we don't have a clear understanding of a student's entire profile, post-secondary profile, to be able to properly advise them. And this first year, we would manually hand enter every single score. We would hand color code every score. So a lot of room for error, of course. And you'll see how simple this first one was. It was really just college application, FAFSA, and TSI. There wasn't really an SAT or ACT component. And over the years, you'll see that this was the year I started learning formulas, how it started evolving. And it's just become a massive tool that you'll see on any given moment. You'll see 1, 3, 5, 7 counselors. You'll see district personnel. You'll see people from all over our department utilizing this tool. And so it really has become a driving force for all decisions that we make. And I think that our time is coming very, very close. And I want to definitely leave an opportunity for questions. So Kelly, is that who I'm turning it over to for Q&A?
Yeah, listen, we'll take it.
It's me.
All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
All right. All right, so we have a few minutes for some Q&A with Essential. I know I have some questions, but I'd love to hear what came up from you all. Clarifying or going deeper. Feel free to come off mute or drop it in the chat, whatever you're more comfortable with.
Hi, good afternoon. It's Yolanda Johnson from Springfield Public Schools. My question, thank you for the presentation. Very helpful, very thoughtful, and really can re-energize the work that we're doing here in Springfield. My question is about the file, the Excel file. I think, was it called the Go Center Tracker? Was that something, is that an internal document that was created?
It is 100% internal. So it is all fed. It took me,
I heard you say.
I'm still learning formulas, but at least a year to build the general structure. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
And one other question, I could have missed it, but are you using an online or digital college and career planning platform? And which one, if you don't mind sharing?
We use Major Clarity for 4-year planning at the high school level. So our students in 8th grade utilize it, and then it has all of that built into it: the career exploration, the post-secondary education planning, all of this.
Okay. And Major Clarity is like, i.e. Naviance School Links?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, listen, you're muted.
That would be helpful. So we have a question in the chat from Peter at Rochester, and he said, I see there was a place for notes in the first version. Was that removed in the last version? And if so, how do you keep people in the loop without it?
So in the first version, everything was hand entered. In the second version, or in our most recent version, it's probably the 4th or 5th or 8th or 30th by now. But there is a place for notes. However, it's on a different sheet and it pulls based on formulas. So everything, because when a new student enrolls, it auto populates and moves their ID numbers down in alpha order. So nothing can be actually hand entered. And it was hard to see. It's not utilized as much anymore because there's already so much data to inform the staff. But it's in our AE column, and it's very specific notes if we're having a issue with a student.
Wonderful. We have another question in the chat from Rodney in Indianapolis. And he is complimentary. He said, your FAFSA TAFSA completion rate is impressive. Is the 81% completion inclusive of both FAFSA and TAFSA?
Yes, that is correct. Our goal this year for FAFSA TAFSA completion is 88%. So we're striving to do even a little bit better than last year. although we've been facing a lot of issues with the new rollover from the federal government. So we're just navigating some of those issues, and hopefully we'll hit our goal this year.
And we do have a state, Texas does have that as a graduation requirement with an opt-out option. But we have kind of set a district goal or district expectation that the opt-outs aren't even really discussed with our students until they're like getting ready to walk the stage and still haven't done it. And there's literally counselors standing behind the stage with clipboards with opt-out forms for them to sign. Because we really want to take every single opportunity to get them to do it. You saw how many kids on the tracker had completed, we've got 95% of our kids that have identified they're gonna, at least as a backup plan, have Alamo Promise available to them through their applications to our Alamo colleges. That is a component of that as well. So we totaled up last year talking about really getting our counselors to understand the impact that they have. We found out once we got our NSC data this year, we looked at that to see how many students went to an Alamo college but did not complete their FAFSA or TASFA. So they did an opt-out form prior to graduation. And we were sitting at a little over like $2.5 million worth of tuition that our students left on the table because they did not complete their FAFSA before they went to Alamo colleges, and they ended up going anyway. And so they had to pay, those students all had to pay. So we take that kind of information back to our teams at the campuses to say, this is how we're gonna make our students do better. And no, our opt-outs are not included in the final calculation. That 81% is students who actually completed the application. We have around 97 to 98% of our seniors, if you include opt-outs. And the other few are just the few that don't graduate for whatever reason. We're tracking them down still and trying to find them.
Yeah, we don't use opt-out as counting towards FAFSA completion. So our goal of 88% is that 88% of students will complete either the FAFSA or TASFA.
We have another question in the chat from Indianapolis, from Austin. He said that they are getting general school-based NSC data. Do you have a specific report or contract where you're accessing student level data with NSC?
So we do have a contract with NSC. I'm not exactly sure what it's titled. We do pay yearly for that per each high school. And that tells us every student that graduated, what college they attended. It tells us top 25 colleges in the countries that our students attended. And then it tracks students every year that complete. So we'll get data from 2018. It tells us how many bachelor's degree, master's degree, or doctorate degrees we still have coming in from 2018. As an example.
And NPSI, we have a partnership, or we have connections at NSC. So if you're not getting student level data, we can touch base offline with me or Allison, and we'll make sure you get what you need, because you should be getting it.
Making a note to follow up with you, Austin. All right, any other questions? All right.
Real quick, Lauren, just
yeah.
asking, are you doing like master classes on how to use all these formulas? Have you started setting those up so we can all learn?
So believe it or not, we've helped a couple of districts around Bexar County create different trackers. Luckily, we have a couple of people in the district that are pretty great, and my husband's an engineer. So when I run across something that stumps me, I beg and plead him to help me out with it. So if you have questions, I might be able to help you. If not, YouTube's very friendly.
Okay.
Lauren, can you show how you track the counselor engagement piece? You have the little
Yes.
pie chart. That's what I love about. And Lauren is her mind thinks data, and I that's why I love her. So I just sprinkle a little idea and she figures it out. It's great. So this is one of the things we talked about.
So you'll see this is our 23. So this is last year's seniors. And this indicates who their counselor is. And so I have not updated this one, obviously, since probably June or July, but we should have a one-pager on here. And it breaks down. And I know our lead counselor, she's on here. She uses this in her weekly meetings. It's called like one pager, and it's what they use. Here it is, to help them identify the number. So we know that this teacher has 134 students in the senior class, 93 of which have completed the Alamo Promise steps. 63 of them have visited the Go Center at least one time. They have saved their seat. 3 are enlisting in the military. So it helps the counselor identify where they're at. And I'm super competitive. So when I see something like this, I always want to have the best percent as possible. So it might instill a little fun competition in our teachers and staff on the campuses. And I also will point out, this is our students where they self-declared where they were going. And we actually have our student clearinghouse where they actually went. So it's kind of fun for us to compare to where they actually went, where they thought they were going to go. And this is how we learned. We had 54 of cohort 23 did not complete FAFSA and ended up at one of the Alamo colleges. And so that's one of those situations where we're like, we can't fail these kids. We have to complete FAFSA if there's the slightest chance that they could attend in the fall.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for your presentation, for sharing your info. They will be in this next section in the breakout. So if additional questions come up, you guys can ask them. But we're
Can I really quick just shout out? I know we've got our team on here too, and we couldn't do any of this without them. So I know Taslin is on here. She's our lead counselor. Jane is our instructional specialist. Heidi is our facilitator for CT and SPED. And Sarah possibly on here as well. But they're great. All of our people are amazing.
All right, guys are getting lots of praise in the chat, and for good reason. Thank you for taking the time and sharing with us. It was incredibly enlightening and helpful.